Hey everybody, Crazy Cosmo here, coming back at you with episode 5 of Why It Was Cancelled, a special episode dealing with the 2007-2008 WGA writers' strike. The guilds were on strike from November 5th, 2007 to February 12th, 2008. Just 14 weeks and 2 days, and yet the strike would have lasting repercussions to this very day. Now, in order to explain why all 12,000 members of the WGA went on strike, you have to go back to 1985 for context. See, the writers actually went on strike back in 1985 for 21 weeks over residuals on VHS releases. VHS was a new medium at the time, and it was being sold for $50 to $100 US when sold for home release, and at the time, writers were getting none of that. Eventually, a residual scale, in which the writer was paid for every single home video sale, was negotiated after the 21-week strike. However, fast-forwarding all the way to 2007, no negotiation had been made from that point on to up the price that writers were getting paid, even as VHS became less expensive to produce and sold for far less, meaning that far more of them were actually being sold than the original. And during this time, DVDs actually supplanted VHS as the preferred method of home delivery. And yet, once again, even though DVDs were sufficiently cheaper to produce, no negotiation was made in upping the price to the writers. Add to that the prevalence of reality television that wasn't hiring WGA writers to do anything on the series. And add to that the fact that streaming had begun to become prevalent, and writers were once again not getting paid at all for any of the streaming sales of their work. And I think we can all see the logic of them deciding to go on strike in 2007 when the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers decided not to address these concerns in their negotiations, which took place every 3 years. After the 14-week and 2-day strike, which completely and utterly stopped all work in Hollywood, they sat down at the table and negotiated a brand new deal, which was ratified with a 93% rating. While no change was made to the DVD and VHS residual schedule, 2 major concessions were made by the studios, which was what allowed for the ratification. Number 1, they actually put in a residual schedule for any form of streamed movie, whether it be by rental or by sale, that goes into the home. Number 2, they made a provision so that a WGA writer had to be hired onto every production, regardless of where it aired or what type it was, as long as it hit a certain budget, reality show or otherwise. Now is the part where I get into speculation, because I personally believe one of the reasons it's had such a lasting impact is that when the writers went back to work, many of the smaller studios had trouble affording the new pricing schedule, and so they were priced out of the better writers, meaning that the bigger studios grabbed all the great ones and kept their shows going while the smaller studios floundered. Crazy Cosmo, signing off.